I have people come to me saying, hey, I have all these bidders running all these various collections. I have a bunch of listers going on, each listing one of my tokens, but I want to have an importer that creates a bunch of automations from a list of collections, let's say, so that I don't have to set up these automations separately, as it's a bit tedious to do. So for that, we can create a bulk importer template, which is an automation in and of itself, whose job is to run once, take a list of collections and create an auto bidder, let's say, for each one. So we head over to templates, click on create template. We add a name bulk bidder importer, and we add the repeat trigger, but we only need to have this automation run once. So we add repeat every 1 minute and stop after 1 repetition. And now here comes the trick. We add a loop over items action and a create automation, and then we'll add an automation input on top that says something like, I add a little description on, so later on I can remember what to input here. It's acting as none and it's required. I hit save. So what will happen is I will add a list of collections as the input. The list will look something like this. As you can see, there's a collection address separated with a comma, and then next collection address separated with a comma and no spaces. And once the collection list is input and the import automation has started, it will run once and it will loop over every single item, so every single collection in our list. Here in this case I have 3 collections. It will loop over with the loop over action 3 times, and each time it will create an automation based off a template for that collection. So in our case it will create a blur bidder for that collection. So here I add the collection list, so I can loop over each collection in it. If I would leave it like this, it would handle the input as a single long item, so that would handle it as one long item, which doesn't make any sense. We need to split this long input into 3 smaller inputs, each separated by a comma. So in order to do that, we need to add a little formula here. We will use the Liquid.js formula code split. There it is. This is my Liquid.js cheat sheet. Here you can see this one divides a string into an array, blah blah blah. Basically, it splits. We have this string separated by a comma and space, and we split by the comma and space. So I copy this, paste it in here, but in my case, I don't have a space behind it, just a comma. And what will happen now is we will split this list into 3 separate items, each a nice little collection address. So now we are creating the automations with this action. I can input a name here, blur. These will be blur bidders, each bidding on a collection. But if I left it like this, all 3 of my separate automations would have the same name. So I couldn't tell them apart. So what I want to do instead is I will add a get collection info action in front of the create automation step, just so I can fetch the name of the collection, so I can have nice looking automation names. So here I select the loop because I'm looping over each of these collections, right? And for each collection item, so that would be this would be one item inside the loop, I'm fetching the collection name for that. So here I can see an output will be a bunch of stuff, but I'm really interested in the name, so I can have nice looking automation names. I input the output from the get collection info here, and I select the name, right? So that kind of replaces my name, so I re-add that. So this will look something like blur bidder and then Azuki or Pudgy Penguins or whatever the collection is. Now I have to select a template from which I will create the automation. If you go back, you can see that we have separate automations. I brought this over from the automation library. I don't yet have them as templates. So what I want to do is I want to create a template out of one of them. I name it blur bidder template. I hit and create, and there it is. So now I can select that template from here. Actually, I need to save this, do a refresh, and now I should see the template appear. This is the one. And now I see the same collection inputs that I would have to add if I was creating the automation directly from the template. So if we go back to the templates and we have a look at the blur bidder template we just created, and if we create an automation from it, then we'll have these inputs pre-filled by the importer by a value we specify. So for the collection ID, we want to take the collection address from our list. So we click the variables picker, select the loop, and since we are looping over the collections, we have the item as the collection. Next, I can add my wallet, max bid, bid quantity, and so on and so forth. These are just the irregular inputs for your automation. What I can also do for ease of use is adding the same inputs as we need here up on the top. So when I'm reusing the importer, I don't have to go down into actions, open the loop, open the create automation, and add in my values here, but I can just add them on top. So I will do that real quick. So for the wallet, I will simply add the same wallet input as I have with my template. If I have a look at a template, I can see these will have exactly the same in the importer, except for the collection ID, which will be a list in our case. But I'll just go ahead and add these. So now that I have the same inputs for my importer as I have in the automations I'm creating, I can simply select the same. I can simply pass on these inputs from the top into the automation that I'm creating, in this case, our blur bidder. So we have the automation inputs, add the wallet, for the max bid, I add the max bid, and that's it. If I click enable on creation, that does exactly what the name suggests, but I don't want them to run right off the bat. So I check if everything's correct, and that looks nice. So now I can test it. I have my automations here and they will appear on the top. If I click on create automation, this will create an importer automation from the importer template. I add my collection list here. I select my trading wallet. I add a max bid of very small, so I don't actually place the bids. I'm doing this for testing. I want to bid one. I want to have at least, let's say, 200 bids above me. I'm playing safe because I don't want to place the bids. And I won't go below the third bid bracket. I click create. Now I have the importer here, and if I turn it on, then it will immediately create the 3 automations, the 3 blur bidders for these 3 collections, if I did everything right. There you go, it's creating the automations. It will run once and then turn itself off. There you go, I hit a refresh and I have all 3 bidders right here. I can turn them on one by one if I want to. And as you can see, the importer turned itself off. Each automation is set up properly. It has all the inputs passed on from the importer itself. And that is basically it. And I can set up a very similar importer for anything. I can do it for collections like here. I can do it for wallet tokens that I want to bid on, etc. If I want to import some other collections, then what I do is I simply replace the collection list right here with some other collections I want to bid on. Let's pick up a few. Let's say I want to bid on these collections. Then I take the same list separated with commas and add it to the inputs. I can change the metrics however I want to. I can bid more. I might want to have more bids above me. I click update and I let it run once. Again, as I have max 1 repetitions, it will turn itself off after 1 run. In the history, I can see it runs. I do a refresh, click on update. I up the max repetitions to 2 so I can have the importer repeat once more. If I go to history, I can see that it has run once again. It has created my 3 automations for the 3 different collections. And in the automations, I can see now there are 6 blur bidders, each for a different collection. Now I could set up a very similar importer for my listers as well, or anything that I like. Now, if you want to bid on certain collections, there's a more elegant way to do the importing, which is by using the get collection watchlist action. What this one does is you can loop over collections in one of your watch lists in a similar way that we did with the importer. This one only works with collections, but if you're using it for bidding, for example, you can simply create a bidding watch list and then add or remove collections you want to bid on from the general Compass interface. So that's basically it. Thank you for watching, and that's how you do mass importing with Compass automations.